on in New York City, and I came across the governor, Kathy Hochul, who gave an interview. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to hear from the commander-in-chief of New York, the commander-in-chief of New York State, to hear what is it that the governor has to say about all of this. This is about a 15-minute interview. We're going to respond to it. In this interview, she talks about the problems that's going on in the city. She talks about the bringing in the National Guard to protect people in the subway, but they can't do anything. All they're there to do is to stand there and look strong. So you could like go up to them and just like stick them in the eye and they can't do anything to you. They're just really there for show. And so we're going to just cover what this here governor has to say. Let's do it.
You live here, you know that the new plan to make the subways safer was unveiled by New York Governor Kathy Hochul yesterday.
So the multi-part plan involves adding more patrols, deploying the National Guard. The governor also wants legislation that would ban anyone convicted of assault on the transit subway system. Joining us with more, and we're going to discuss this all, dissect it. Governor Kathy Hochul, nice to have you back on Good Day New York.
Great to see both of you.
By the way, very dramatic. National Guard coming to a New York City subway. What brought you to that point?
We have had a series of high-profile crimes that have shaken the security of New Yorkers. Statistically, it's not what it used to be. It's better, much better. But I'm not going to talk about statistics. I'm going to talk about feelings and emotions and the psychology of a city. I want more people on the subways. We're not quite back to the pre-pandemic levels. And if people are feeling unsafe and won't come, then I have to do something about it and work with our mayor. The mayor already deployed 1,000 more NYPD. That was a great move. He has the primary responsibility for policing our subways. But I also have assets that I can bring to just calm down the fever right now. Because when you have a subway conductor with his throat slashed, and I spoke to the doctor who saved him yesterday, it's extraordinary, and another conductor hit with a glass bottle.
That was like, what, just an hour after you made this announcement yesterday?
Exactly. So guess what? We're going to...
Hold on. Things are so bad that the people who run the trains are being attacked. The conductors are being attacked. She said throat slashed. I mean, I used to ride the New York subway when I lived in New Jersey. Now, I'd hop on the train in a minute. I'd be in the train during the night. You couldn't catch me now being in the train in New York City with conductors having their throats slashed and being beaten up with bottles in the subway.
to take some strong action. There's no search and frisk. There's no stop and frisk. There's no profiling. All this is a deterrent, saying you want to commit a crime, go somewhere else.
Okay,
not on our subway.
So you're going to have the National Guard.
Hold the presses. So this is what we're talking about. So she's describing what the National Guard is going to be doing. They are just there to stand there and look pretty. They're not going to be profiling the criminals. They're not going to do anything. All they're doing, she said, it's a deterrent. It's a way to deter them from committing crimes. If they see the men in uniform there, they're not going to commit crimes. They're not going to slash the people's throats. They're not going to rob you. They're not going to point guns at you. They're not going to do nothing because we have armed, well, no, they're not armed. We have men in uniform in the subway. It's a deterrent. That's the governor. The governor.
There. And they're going to search bags?
Randomly. There is a statistical...
What happens if you don't want your bag searched?
Then go home. We're not going to search you. You can say no, but you're not taking the subway.
She don't seem too confident in her answers. It's like she's wobbly. She's shaky on it. You go home. If you don't want your bag searched, then you just can't get on the subway. You go home. That's all. You just go home.
How are you going to enforce that? I mean, it's hard to get people to pay the fare right now. You still have so many people evading fares.
Well, guess where these individuals are positioned? Right near the turnstiles. So you want to look in the eye of a police officer or an MTA transit police or a National Guard and still skip the fare?
Oh, they do have guns. Oh my goodness. I thought I read or heard that they didn't have weapons. So they do have weapons. And they don't have little guns either. They have big guns. The ones they trying to ban, right?
Go ahead.
There's so many entrances to every subway station.
Yeah.
How do you patrol this? I mean, do you have someone stationed at every entrance? Do you have select entrances?
We are looking at the main transit hubs where the most people come through. We're going for volume to supplement the NYPD's efforts throughout the whole system. And the other element is we're going to have cameras on every single subway. Now, this is something that was talked about. I'm getting it done. So I'd rather be in the business of preventing crimes than having to solve them. And if people know that they're being watched, that there's a camera that'll record if they harm someone, assault, bring on a gun, have a knife, they're going to get caught. I think that's going to have a powerful effect on the psychology of the criminals. And there's
Hold on, Madame Mayor, hold on, Presses. So currently, you're saying that you don't have cameras in the New York City subways or inside of the subway itself, inside of the trains? You don't have cameras? As bad as crime has been, you don't have cameras? Now, we all know that having cameras mean nothing because we watch videos all day long. People break into stores all day long. Everybody's on camera, everybody's on footage, but nobody goes to jail. So don't sit here and tell us, oh, they're not gonna commit crimes if they know that they're on camera, if they're being filmed. That's BS because we all know there's cameras everywhere. Everywhere you go, you're on camera in this day and age. So, and you still can't catch these criminals. So don't tell me putting more cameras is gonna be the answer. Sure, it might help, but really? No. And again, she's very weak in her delivery, as if she's not really sure.
also a category of individuals who are not well, who have severe mental health problems.
That's one that I think is important to talk about because so many of these arrests that you see or people that get taken out, they're suffering from mental illness.
They sure are.
And there's a mental health crisis here in the city, all across the country. What can you do in this plan to kind of change that and maybe deter some of those people or at least handle it?
Two elements. One is we already have our safety plan of having individuals who are trained professionals. These are social workers, people who have a medical background. They are going in and have been now for over a year and a half to talk to people, develop a relationship with them and get them to leave the subways, because if that's their primary home, we are now placing them into places they can have supportive services, a long-term home for them. Then there's a category of people that can do harm to themselves or others, very serious cases. I just allocated $20 million more to add enhanced enforcements, which have a police officer embedded in them, because there could be danger for some of our social workers or professionals to engage with certain people. It's a small category of people, but if you happen to be on a train with someone there and you're worried that someone's going to hurt you or your baby in a stroller or a senior citizen, that creates an anxiety. And I don't want New Yorkers to be anxious about any aspect of life here, but certainly not traveling on the subway.
Just to follow up on that,
I
see you're expanding the number of teams.
Hold on. So, this brings me to the homeless person, the person who was terrorizing people on the subway, I think about a year or so back, and a person on the train, a military trained person, tried to stop this gentleman from hurting people on the train, and he actually ended up, the guy died. And so this man, this citizen who did the duty to protect people on the train, He was criticized. They had riots. They had all kinds of stuff because this man took action. And this person, I believe he was, probably high, probably drunk. He was causing a ruckus in the train. And, he was taken down. But where were you? Where's your mental health people then? Because these people live in these subways. They have been living in there. It's not just, it just happened. They've been there. You all know they live there. And so, and they have mental issues all the time. People are being pushed over all the time. There's all kinds of problems down there. And now you're putting in $20 million to do what? To bring in counselors down into the subway to help them out and do all of this. Like, it's extra money that could go to something else when you already have the police and now you've got the guards there to like pack these people up and take them to whatever facility. But no, we got to sit around and try to negotiate with these people to not live in the subway, and then you have to bring people in to be with them so that these people don't hurt them as they're down there trying to negotiate. It's crazy.
There are 2 in the entire subway system right now to 10. So 5 times as much. But again, the question, how do you enforce that? Because so many times, they're adults and you can, I hate to use the term, but you can gather them up and say, we're going to put you in services. But they're adults. And after a while, they go, I don't need help. And they are right back out in the street. So how do you enforce that and keep it from happening?
2 categories of people. That's why we have the one program, which is primarily social service oriented, to develop relations, convince people to leave. And some people that we've convinced to leave, we have 350 people now living in permanent housing who had been on the subways for 5 to 7 years. That was their home.
Now, don't you feel like a fail when you know that these people have been living in the subway not for a month, not 2 months, not 3 years? She said 5 to 7 years is what she said. 5 to 7 years. You are the commander in chief. You are the governor of this state. You are the governor. And this is what you have to say? No. And this man makes really, really great points because these people, just like the homeless out here on the streets, they don't want to go into a facility. They don't want to go into shelters. They like how it is out there for them. They like it. And these people, they find a nice, cozy place to sleep in the train. They go up and down, and they can sleep during the winter. They ain't got no problems. So yeah, they're living down there. And you know this. And they're not gonna just pack up and leave. He said you can round them all up and say, hey, we're gonna do a sweep of the subway today. We're packing up all of these homeless people, and they have bags and packages of stuff all over the place. They're living there, just like when you see them on the street. They're living there, and rallying them up and say, hey, we're packing up today. We're coming down to the subway. We're taking everybody out. We've got a place to go. You either go or you go to jail. Those are the options. And that's not what, we're going to give social services to them. We're going to try to negotiate with them. We're going to try to persuade them. You either, here's a place to go or you go to jail. These are your options.
We convince them to leave. That's a long process. The other part, what I'm funding as of yesterday, is a more intense operation and involves police, because these are people who could truly be the ones who push someone on the track that could cause harm to themselves or others. And there's a different approach, and it's not their choice whether they leave. The police make the determination. That's a small group of people. We want to respect people's rights, but we also have a right to be safe on our subways.
So, we've done a poll this morning on Good Day. Overwhelmingly, people are in favor of the National Guard being on the subway. But some of the papers today, I don't know if you've read them, they're calling this theatrics, that it really means nothing. You're overdoing it. You're undermining the NYPD. What do you say to those people?
I would say if I did nothing, it'd be negligent on my part. I'm the governor of the state of New York. My number one priority is the safety of all New Yorkers. If people are anxious in any aspect of their lives, particularly the lifeblood of our region, downstate does not function without a healthy subway system that people have confidence in. I have to do this for them. It does not undermine the mayor. In fact, it is complimenting the mayor's efforts.
And the NYPD is okay with this.
We had a meeting with them last Thursday. I said, you need help. They particularly asked for help on the psychiatric side, the mental health side. I said, I'll help you. I've been working hard to get more beds in hospitals available. That's what happened.
Because there's no place for them to go.
There was no place to go.
And they're out in 2 or 3 days.
That's right. And that's why I announced last year $1 billion to deal with mental health, forcing hospitals that had taken mental health beds offline because they had them for COVID. I understand that. COVID's over. We're good. Bring them back on. Now, they're more expensive to run. I had to deal with the disparity in rates. I had to do a lot of work to get those beds back on. And we now have a policy. All the hospitals have to follow this. If someone is under your care, they have to have a discharge plan that puts them in the next level of service. You cannot just cycle them in and out. That does not work. So I'm working with the mayor, supplementing his great efforts to do what he can. He has primary responsibility for policing the subways, but sometimes you need a little extra help, and that's what I'm there as a partner to the mayor.
And as you know, we had the mayor on yesterday. And
hold on. So, I'm just wondering if any of these people living in the subway are illegals, or are these American citizens? Because I got a strange feeling that these are American citizens. Now, a lot of the illegals, they have put up in hotels and so on, fancy hotels out there in Manhattan, fancy hotels out there on Broadway. But these people are living in the trains. I don't believe that the people who are living inside of the subway are illegals. Maybe a few of them are. I'm sure maybe a few of them are, but I'm gonna say the majority of them that's living in the subway are really American citizens, homeless Americans, right? And another point I'd like to make is that she's saying that Mayor Eric Adams is on board with this. The police is on board with this. It's great if you can get extra help, of course, sure. But is she overstepping? I know she's the governor, but is she overstepping when she's doing that, undermining them and their ability to police the way they want to? It's interesting. It's an interesting dance.
And he was here talking about recidivism.
Oh, yeah.
He said it's the same people.
1% of the people arrested are responsible for 20%
So what
of the
I'm
crimes.
asking you is basically, it goes back to bail reform. And a lot of people are criticizing that this, putting the National Guard on, the mental health people, that it's still not dealing with the problem that we have a problem with bail reform, and that these people are being released back into the community before they even hit the jail cell.
Before she answers, so as we know, this is what these liberal cities are all about. They do not want to put people away. They don't put criminals away. Look at what's happening in California. Look at what's happening right there in New York City. That's one of their things, is that, and the reporter, I forget her name, she makes an excellent point, because if you're not dealing with the root problem, you can put, National Guard there, you can put extra police there, you can do whatever you want. But if you, and they said it's the same people, the same core people repeating the same process over and over again. They commit the crime, they get, put into, I guess, lockup for a day or two, then they're back out on the street. So it's just a cycle that continues. If you're not really being hard on these people and really, giving them the law and locking them up for real, then you're just putting a Band-Aid on the problem. So pulling out these troops and sitting them out there in the subway does nothing, because guess what? Even if they took these people and you put them in jail for a day or two, they're going to be back out in another day or two. And guess what? The problem still isn't solved. So I'd like to see where this governor goes with this lead.
Look, we've talked about this many times, and you talked to me last year after the budget, when I held the budget up 1 month not because of money or other disagreements, because I insisted that we're not leaving town until we change the bail laws and give the judges the discretion that had been taken away from them, but to allow them and add more categories of cases of crimes that are bail eligible.
I know you heard what happened on Long Island. These 3 people are accused of dismembering, I don't know how many people. They were brought in and basically let out without bail.
Right.
Now,
you know what I'm going to say?
The DA over there is saying that it's because of the bail reform laws.
And maybe the DA should have done a more thorough investigation and brought murder charges or conspiracy to commit murder or even assault charges, because all of them are bail eligible. Okay, maybe they brought it a little early. I encourage the DA's office to go back and build your case, because if you bring any of those charges, which I think would be appropriate, that's absolutely bail eligible. Those people would not be out on the street.
But what about the recidivism happening right now, which the mayor is talking about?
Here's what happened. The law I changed went into effect last May. It hasn't even had a year. Judges aren't always applying it properly, because upstate New York, we're seeing a big decline in recidivism. Judges are following the new law. I have to say there are judges in New York City who either are not aware of the law, which I've actually heard some misrepresent the law. They still think they're supposed to follow least restrictive means. That is no longer the standard. We took that out. So it's an education process. It's the district attorneys. There's a whole system, but the law is on their side now to hold people who are repeat offenders. It's called harm on harm. This is how we're getting at, if you harm an individual, harm someone's property, you can be held. So that's the new law. Let's give it some time to take effect. But I went to the mat on that, got those changes, and ultimately New Yorkers will be safer.
While I have you here, we want to talk.
I don't think Rosanna is satisfied with that answer. Again, it's very, very shaky. If that was the case, what she's saying about this law that she has on the books, criminals would be locked up, okay? And then they would start to learn from that, and they would stop committing these crimes. So yeah, I don't buy that. I don't buy it, and neither does Rosanna. She was really trying to push back, but I don't know what happened. But yeah, she didn't get. She's not satisfied. So right now they're getting ready to talk about the migrant situation in New York City and in New York State. Hello, the whole country. But this is the governor of this great state. I loved New York. I lived in New Jersey. I was in New York all the time. And when I tell you, I would love to go back just to see like this destruction for myself. Like, I don't want to see it on the news. I want to go and walk the cities. I want to go to 33rd Street. I want to get on the path. I want to go and I want to see it for myself. Just like I want to go to California and see Skid Row and see all of the failures for myself. But in any event, as the governor of this state, the leader, commander-in-chief of this state, I want to know, how is it that you've let so many people into your state? She's got over 200,000 migrants on her hands, and it is ridiculous. As the governor, again, she's not putting the people first, she's putting the illegals first. So let's hear what she has to say in reference to all of this.
I have you here. We want to talk about the migrant crisis because the city, I think, is disproportionately affected by it. Mm-hmm. You look at the rest of the state, and so many counties, more than half the counties have passed laws where migrants can't be sheltered in hotels and they can't sign contracts, et cetera. So the city winds up with a lot of the asylum seekers here, unable to move them elsewhere upstate and financially have to deal with it. What can be done to make other places in the state kind of carry their burden?
We've had 178,000 migrants come to our city. About 36% of those are being sheltered. Many have come in, registered, got services for a few days, and have left the system. What we have now, and this is, I'll bring in upstate in a second because this is an important part of it. For the first time in our history, the wave of migration has not been men who come first, get planted, get the job, get a place for the family, and then bring them up. We have more women and children than we've ever seen in the history of migration. So there's a lot of women and children who need services. They also need the language spoken. New York City is a very diverse place. Upstate is not. Also, there's a culture here in New York City where there's more people who can get the jobs. I'll just call them off the books, right? Upstate, the employers are much more resistant to doing that. So many of these
a lot of this is
As the governor of the state, she just admitted something there, that the migrants in New York City, they're able to do work, get money, get paid off the books. And so for them, they prefer to stay in Manhattan. They prefer to stay in these areas where they're able to hustle and get money. So when you move them out into suburbia, they're not able to do that as much because those people there, yeah, they go by the laws. Yeah, you can't work here. If you ain't got no papers, you ain't got no documents, you're illegal. No, we're not putting you to work. So what she's saying, she, as the governor, knows that these things are going on in her state, and she's condoning it. She's condoning it. Whose side are you on? Again, she is literally has knowledge of laws being broken as the governor, and she's telling you right there on the news that it's on the books, off the books. You are a disgrace. I can't even imagine Governor Ron DeSantis sitting here and having the same conversation. No way, no how, no way. Why? Because he puts Florida first. He puts we, the people, first.
Is written into local ordinances, though. Right. So this is not just culturally they aren't accepted up there. This is written that they can't be brought up there.
But we have counties that are welcoming to them. And
so there's a great point there. He said that ordinances, that it's written in ordinances that they're not even going to take them to certain places. So these people are literally within the vicinity. There's places that they can't even go to other areas in the state because there's laws on the books to destroy Manhattan.
Those counties have been doing a great job. We also have migrants who say they don't want to go up there. They've been sent there. They've been told to go there. They've been offered to go there. They've been offered housing up there. And many of them are declining. I just want to say we cannot physically make you go live in Plattsburgh. So I cannot do that.
So one of the...
How about they're saying that you're saying we've got a place for you to go out here in this area, wherever it is. And the migrants, the illegals are saying, no, we're not going there. We're going to stay right here. This is where we want to be. So, and she's saying, as the governor, right? As the governor, she's saying, well, our hands are tied. We can't do anything. We can't do anything. Our hands are tied because they don't want to go. The migrants don't want to go. So our hands are tied. This is the governor. Well, look at her face. This is the governor. How about you pack them up, you rally them up, you group them up, and you put them on a plane and you ship them back to where they came from? How about that? No, she can't do that.
Question then is that Mayor Adams says he would like for the state then to help with 50% of the cost for the next 2 years, which the city estimates about $10 billion. I know you said you'll give $2.4 billion in your budget that is supposed to go forward on April 1st. But if you can't get some of these people in different areas, then can the state help the city more financially?
We already are in for this for $4.3 billion. Now, the mayor has just reduced his estimates of what the cost will be. It's an evolving situation. You know, when we had 10,000 people, we thought that was a lot. We're approaching 200,000. But my focus has been 100% to get these people jobs because they are here, they have a legal status. They have to wait a certain amount of time to get jobs. I have 460,000 open jobs in the state of New York. We need workers. Now, I'd rather there be a different path of people coming here. This is a lot for us to handle, and the mayor's done a great job with these circumstances, and I've been a great partner with him. I have to tell you, we have thousands of people at state-only supported sites. The mayor's not paying for many of the sites. Randall's Island, JFK, Lincoln Correctional. Floyd Bennett Field. We have absorbed 100% of those costs to be a willing partner, putting up the shelters. I have 2,000 National Guard staffing the shelters. That is on my dime. Healthcare.
No, friend, not on your dime. It is on the taxpayer, we the people dime. You sitting up here like it's on my dime, like you're the one coming out of pocket to do this. No, the taxpayers are paying for these people. All these facilities she just mentioned, she's not, it's the taxpayer money that's housing and feeding and doing all of these things for these people. It's not your money. It's we the people's money. Get it straight.
Costs, job training costs. We're absorbing all this. I'm not sure that's being factored into their equation on where the state has been. We're going to continue working through this together. It's been a real challenge, but ultimately we get the people that are here, and I'd rather more not come. I'd rather that the Republicans in the House of Representatives sign on to the bill that the Republicans in the Senate supported, and Joe Biden said he'd sign, to shut down the border. That's what we need to have happen. I need the Republicans in the state of New York, there's 10 Republicans, to march into the Speaker's office and say, we want to bring this bill to the floor. We want to give their money for our northern border as well. Could use help up there. I want 2,000 more patrol officers on the border. Let's shut down the border so we can manage this crisis, get them jobs, and move on.
I know you have.
She said like it's gonna, this bill that she's talking about, this is just another Band-Aid, okay? It's just like her putting armed men in the subway. It's a Band-Aid. It's not gonna get rid of the true problem, okay? And this bill, all it does, it puts a Band-Aid on it. It doesn't stop people from coming. All it does is more people are still going to be coming. It incentivizes more people to come. So we want an actual bill that's really going to close the border, that's really going to fix this problem, that's really going to shut this down. So yeah, we're not going to get into a temporary situation, a Band-Aid for this border situation. And shame on you, because you already know that what it is. You already know. What a disgrace of a governor.
Have a place to go after this. You got a lot on your plate. Congestion pricing. I mean, obviously, lots of lawsuits against the MTA with congestion pricing. And while the MTA loves to hold up London as a model, there are problems in London, and they've readjusted their pricing in London. So far, we do not see the MTA doing that. Do you feel like this is not going to happen this summer just because of all the lawsuits?
I feel that it will. And what really concerns me when I think about public safety, the fact that it takes so long for a fire truck or an ambulance, emergency person, to get to people because they're stuck in our traffic. Now this is a matter of life and death. That's what I want to get at. I also want to make sure that our subways are invested in. If we don't have the money to be able to invest in making sure that they're accessible for people with disabilities, for example, paying for all the cameras I'm putting, this is not free.
But do you think that this is really going to happen? Only because
I think it will.
There's a lot of lawsuits, and I hear they have weight.
A lot of lawsuits. I get sued every day of the week. The MTA gets sued. I say, get in line. That's just, people will sue. But people earning less than $60,000 do not have to pay. There are much reduced rates for nighttime travel. If we can get the delivery trucks to make their deliveries when it's only a few dollars, congestion pricing during the nighttime, we're going to change how this city operates and make it easier. And ultimately, I think it will be safer as well. And that's what I'm focused on.
So you're going to the State of the Union tonight?
Well, friends, that was Kathy Hochul, governor of New York State. So one thing in reference to the congestion that they're talking about there, they recently are charging more people, more businesses. Like if you're bringing your cars in, they're charging you more and so on. And so it's been made really, really difficult for the people that's actually living there and for the businesses as well. And so they are doing this to make people take the subway more. And I think that's probably one of the reasons she is investing and bringing the troops and all of that into the subway, is because they are pushing people towards taking the subway. And people don't want to take the subway because the subway is dangerous. You're literally getting your throat slashed in broad daylight. So not a good look. And as the governor of the state, she is a failure to protect the people. She is a failure to protect the constituents. She is a failure to protect the taxpayer. She is a failure to protect her state and her city, New York City. She is a fail to protect these people. It is a shame. Look at Ron DeSantis. I can always go back to him. The things that she was advocating for, the things that she's talking about in here, Governor Ron DeSantis would not put up with all of these illegals coming. You already saw he's already on top of dealing with the crisis that's coming across in the boats. So you already saw that he's not playing around. All of this, homeless in the subway for 5 years, 7 years, that's crazy. This woman is a fail. Their leadership is a fail. I'm telling you, Rudy Giuliani was the best thing that ever happened to New York City. And they need to put that Rudy Giuliani blueprint back into action. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you all for watching. And it's been an interesting conversation. So let's talk about it in the comments. Thank you so much. And I will see you in another video. God bless you and God keep you. So long.